I still remember the day I turned 85 and realized I had misplaced my favorite reading glasses for the third time that week. This wasn't just another senior moment. It felt like a wake-up call. Deep down, I was worried about losing more than just my glasses. I was afraid of losing the sharp mind that had carried me through decades of raising a family, working hard, and finding purpose in each day. If you've ever felt that flicker of panic when you forget a name or misplace your keys, trust me, I've been right there with you. And I'm here to tell you it doesn't have to be that way. In fact, I've discovered practical strategies that not only helped me keep my mind sharp after 85, but even allowed me to feel clearer and more engaged than I did in my 60s. That's not an exaggeration. My grandchildren, who used to tease me for mixing up their names, now ask for my advice on complex subjects because they say, "Grandpa, you always seem to remember the details." It's these little victories that remind me our minds can stay strong, even if our bodies slow down a bit. I know memory issues are a pressing concern for many seniors. There's that fear of feeling lost in familiar places, forgetting important dates, or even failing to recognize loved ones' faces. These aren't trivial worries. They strike at the heart of our independence and our sense of self. If we don't address these challenges, there's so much to lose. Confidence in our everyday abilities, the respect we've earned over a lifetime, and even the joy of fully connecting with family and friends. Yet here's the good news. It doesn't have to end in frustration. Today, I'm going to share the 6 memory techniques that helped me and countless others maintain clarity well into our 80s and beyond. We'll cover the surprising idea that sometimes focusing on less can help you remember more. We'll talk about a single tweak in your daily routine that can amplify recall. And if you stick with me all the way through, I'll reveal a final tip that's so counterintuitive. Most people dismiss it, yet it made the biggest difference for me. Picture a life where you walk into a room and instantly recall why you went there in the first place, where you never struggle to recall a friend's birthday, and where each passing year feels like an opportunity to learn more, not an unavoidable decline. That's the transformation these techniques can offer. You might be wondering, why should I trust what you're saying? After decades of reading about and observing seniors who thrive in their 90s and even early hundreds, I started testing out these techniques on myself. Combined with insights from memory specialists and observations from everyday seniors, I've pieced together an approach that genuinely works. I'm not a doctor, but I've seen firsthand how these principles can lighten the daily load on your memory and keep your mind nimble. Before we get into the details, I have a small favor to ask. If you enjoy what you're about to hear, please subscribe to this channel or turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos. And as we go along, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Just type 1 if you find this helpful, or 0 if you feel there's room for improvement. Your feedback is like a guiding light for me. It helps me make these videos more useful for you. Now let's explore these 6 memory techniques. They may sound simple, but I promise, applying even one can make a world of difference. The first technique centers on an idea that might surprise you. Doing less can actually help you remember more. Yes, you heard that right. Most of us have been taught that staying busy is essential to keep our minds active. But I've found that a cluttered mind can work against us, especially after 65. We load ourselves with multiple tasks, trying to pay bills online while talking to the grandkids on the phone and reheating dinner in the microwave. The common misconception is that multitasking keeps the brain young. In reality, it fragments our focus so much that we remember less of what we do. Take Linda, 76, who used to juggle half a dozen tasks at once. She believed it was the best way to stay sharp, but she started forgetting small details, like whether she'd locked the front door or put salt in her stew. It's not that Linda was incapable, she was overloaded. Once she embraced the idea of single tasking, she noticed immediate improvements. Instead of trying to do everything at once, she devoted a few minutes solely to locking up her house, then moved on to cooking. And guess what? She stopped needing to triple-check the locks or worry about missing ingredients. The surprising insight is that true mental agility comes from giving your full attention to one thing at a time. So what's the practical step? Choose one daily activity, maybe making the bed or preparing breakfast, and commit to focusing on it without distraction. Turn off the TV, Put your phone away and immerse yourself in the process. If you can master this with just one task, you'll likely carry that renewed focus into other parts of your day. Emotionally, this can be liberating. Instead of feeling scattered, you feel in control. Instead of second-guessing yourself, you trust your recollection because you were present in each moment. Now let's move on to the second technique, which might seem too obvious to be effective. Writing things down by hand. Nowadays, the world tells us to rely on digital reminders, whether on our smartphones or computers. But there's something special about the physical act of writing that cements information in your mind more effectively. I've discovered that jotting down notes, even just short bullet points, is like carving them into your brain. A common misconception is that seniors should ditch the pen and paper for electronic devices because it's more modern or convenient. But I've seen how the older approach can actually strengthen your recall. Consider Jerry, 83, who used to rely on his smartphone's alarm for everything: medications, doctor's appointments, birthdays. Whenever his phone beeped, he followed the command. Yet he admitted that if he lost the phone, he'd be totally adrift. After switching to writing key tasks in a small notebook each morning, Jerry noticed that even if he misplaced the notebook, he still remembered most of what he had written. There's a reason behind this. Handwriting activates regions in your brain that typing just doesn't, creating deeper memory traces. What's the surprising insight here? In a digital age, old-school methods can be the secret weapon for memory retention. To get started, pick up a small planner or notebook, something that feels comfortable to hold. Jot down your to-do list or important dates each morning. Flip through it at lunchtime and in the evening. Over time, you'll notice you rarely need to look back at your notes to recall something. The emotional benefit is a renewed sense of autonomy. You're not tethered to your gadgets. There's an empowering feeling in knowing your brain can still do the heavy lifting. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment the number 2 below to let me know you're following along. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you do so. You won't want to miss the other techniques coming up. Now let's move to the third technique, which I like to call activate your senses. Most people assume memory is all about what's in your head, but it's also about how you experience the world through your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. A big misconception is that seniors are doomed to experience dulled senses. But the reality is, you can often enhance your sensory experiences with just a bit of mindful practice, and that can supercharge your recall. Think about how certain scents trigger memories from decades ago. A favorite perfume, the smell of fresh bread, or even a particular type of soap. That's because our sense of smell links directly to parts of the brain involved in memory. Meet Patricia, 79, who noticed she remembered family gatherings more vividly when she paid attention to sensory details, like the tangy scent of cranberry sauce at Thanksgiving or the crisp sound of leaves crunching underfoot in the fall. When she started deliberately capturing these moments by describing them to herself, talking about the warm colors of the tablecloth, the laughter of her grandchildren, the aroma of roasting turkey, she realized she could recall the entire scene months later with surprising clarity. The core insight here is that engaging multiple senses forms richer memory connections. Try a simple exercise. The next time you eat a meal, describe it in detail to yourself or a loved one. Notice the texture, flavor, aroma, and even the colors on your plate. This might feel a little silly at first, but it forces your brain to log more data, making the memory more vibrant and easier to retrieve later. Emotionally, this practice helps you savor the moment. Life feels richer when you allow all 5 senses to participate. Our fourth technique is something many seniors overlook: consistent brain challenges, but in small doses. We often hear, keep your mind active, do crossword puzzles or Sudoku. That's valid advice, but a misconception is that you need to spend hours a day on mental exercises. In truth, intense but brief periods of cognitive workouts can be more beneficial and less overwhelming. Let me share Roger's story. At 78, Roger tried tackling a giant crossword puzzle every Sunday, believing more was better. But he ended up feeling frustrated and fatigued, eventually abandoning the habit altogether. Then he switched to doing short, 5-minute brain games daily, sometimes word puzzles, other times simple math riddles or memory cards. He noticed the difference almost immediately. His mind felt more engaged, and rather than dreading the activity, he looked forward to those quick, focused sessions. The surprising insight is that short, consistent sprints can outdo the occasional marathon. To apply this, pick one puzzle or mental challenge a day. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Give it your all during that time, and then move on. This approach keeps your mind nimble without causing burnout. Emotionally, it's invigorating to see small daily wins accumulate. You're not weighed down by pressure or guilt, just a sense of accomplishment. And you might find yourself gradually increasing that 5 minutes to 10 or 15 because it starts feeling fun rather than obligatory. If you're finding these techniques helpful and want me to keep going, please comment the number 4 below. Every bit of engagement helps me understand what resonates with you most. On to the fifth technique, social storytelling. People often think memory is a solo journey. You do your exercises, manage your routine, and hope for the best. But memory thrives in community. There's a common misconception that seniors should step back from social activities when they tire easily or fear being forgetful in public. The truth is, talking through your experiences with others can anchor them in your mind. Alice, 85, discovered this in the most heartwarming way. She found that whenever she reminisced about her childhood or shared stories from her travel experiences, she remembered more details than she thought she still had. For instance, she started telling her grandson about her trip to France back in her 40s. At first, she could only recall bits and pieces, but the more she spoke about it, how the cobblestone streets felt under her shoes, how the pastries smelled in the morning, the clearer the memories became. It was as if her brain was unlocking new rooms each time she told a story. The surprising truth is that memory loves repetition, especially when it's tied to emotional or social contexts. Consider forming a small storytelling circle with friends or family, perhaps over a simple weekend meal. Each person can share a short anecdote, and the rest can ask questions. Not only does it keep your mind active, but it also fosters connection. Emotionally, you benefit from the warmth of shared laughter or the comfort of empathetic listening. It reminds you that your memories are valuable and worth preserving. Finally, we arrive at the sixth technique, which might raise a few eyebrows. Embrace strategic forgetting. It sounds contradictory to say that forgetting certain things can help you remember others, but it's something I've discovered through personal experience. The misconception is that we must strive to remember everything, from trivial details to major events. However, your brain can work more efficiently if you consciously decide what's worth storing and what's okay to let go. I learned this from Dorothy, 87. She had a habit of burdening her mind with details that no longer served her, like the grocery prices from 2 weeks ago or every minor complaint she heard on the news. One day she said to me, "I realize I'm filling up my memory with junk, leaving no space for the things I truly treasure." So she practiced letting go of non-essential information. If a piece of news didn't directly impact her life, she chose not to dwell on it. She used a small notebook to track everyday errands and gave herself permission to forget that data once they were completed. The surprising insight is that your brain, much like a closet, can become cluttered. By deliberately discarding what you don't need, you free up mental space and energy for what truly matters. It might be a new hobby you want to explore, meaningful conversations with loved ones, or simply the ability to recall the sweet moments of your grandchildren's stories. Emotionally, this technique reduces stress. You no longer feel obligated to hold on to every single snippet of information. You focus on the pearls, not the pebbles, and that helps keep you sharp where it counts. If you're still here with me and plan to put these techniques into practice, please comment the number 6 below. Each interaction reminds me that we're on this journey together, learning and growing side by side. Now that we've explored these 6 techniques, focusing on one thing at a time, writing things down by hand, activating your senses, doing short daily brain challenges, sharing stories socially, and embracing strategic forgetting, let's take a moment to reflect on just how powerful they can be. Think back to any one memory trick that resonated with you most and visualize how it could improve your life. Maybe it's single tasking, which could mean finally going through your day without second-guessing everything you've done. Or maybe it's using a notebook to note your tasks, giving you newfound independence from electronic devices. Perhaps you're drawn to strategic forgetting, eager to declutter your mind so you can focus on what truly matters. The real power lies in taking action now rather than later. Every day that passes without implementing these changes is a day you could have spent enjoying a clearer mind and more confident memory. Picture yourself a few weeks from today. Your mornings flow smoothly because you're not mentally juggling 15 tasks at once. You have a quiet confidence knowing you can remember your appointments and your friends' names without fumbling. At family gatherings, you're the life of the party, recalling stories and details that make everyone laugh. That's the future you can create by applying even a few of these techniques consistently. I encourage you to choose one method to start with, just one. Maybe it's the simplest for you. If you find it helpful, consider adding a second. In my own journey, I started with single tasking and discovered that success in one area of memory gave me the courage to try the others. Little by little, I built a routine that not only improved my recall, but also boosted my overall sense of well-being. Which tip spoke to you the most? Take a moment to think about it or write it down. Tell me in the comments so I know which ones are hitting home. And while you're at it, share one small step you plan to take this week, like setting aside 5 minutes each morning to review your notebook or telling a new story about your life to a loved one. It doesn't matter if it feels like a baby step. Baby steps are still steps forward. Before we wrap up, I have a multi-layered invitation for you. First, if you haven't already, please like this video. It's a small action for you, but a huge encouragement for me to keep making content that helps us all live better. Second, subscribe or turn on the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. I share insights on senior health, relationships, and ways to thrive in our golden years. Third, share this video with someone you care about, maybe a friend or a family member who you sense might be struggling with memory. You never know whose life you might help transform. I want you to remember that your memory is not a lost cause. You have the power to shape it, nurture it, and preserve it. It may take some practice and patience, but the rewards are immense. A greater sense of independence, a deeper connection to the people and experiences you cherish, and the uplifting realization that growing older can also mean growing wiser and more capable in ways you never thought possible. Thank you for joining me on this journey. My hope is that the next time you have a senior moment, you'll catch yourself and say, you know what? I've got tools for this. And then you'll confidently put one of these techniques to use, because remembering what matters most is well within your reach. And I'm excited to see you prove that every single day.